In this lesson, we're going to create the transitions for our animator controller. All right, so to begin the process of blending between animations, we need to create what's called transitions. So to create a transition, you will right-click on the state that you want to transition from, and you'll say Make Transition. Then you'll click on the animation state that you want to transition to, and it will connect that arrow. Select the transition arrow, and you'll notice that it highlights in blue, and you can see that we have this conditions option. Now what this is going to tell us or tell Unity to do is that if this condition is met, it needs to transition to the next animation state. Now as of right now, we don't have any transitions, or excuse me, any conditions for this to follow. So what we'll do is we'll turn this off, or we'll remove that. So how do we get conditions? Well, conditions are used or are created from parameters. So if you come up here to the top and you click on parameters, you can add a parameter by hitting the plus button here. And you'll say, let's use a Boolean type parameter. Now you can use float, int, or trigger, but in our case, we want to use a Boolean value. It's basically saying whether something is true or if it's false. So I'm going to use bool, and I'm going to give it a name, and I'm going to say is running, and hit enter. Now that we have that parameter, let's select our transition again, and let's try to add that condition one more time. So we're going to add a condition, and you'll see is running automatically populates. The reason for that is because it's the only parameter that we have available. If you had multiple parameters, you could left click on the conditions drop down, and you could choose from a list of your parameters. But like I said, this is the only one that we have, and so it's the only one that's going to show up in that list. Now we want to make sure that the condition is set properly. So if the character is running, we want to set that transition to true. Okay, so the transition will go to the run animation if that condition is true. Perfect. So that's all set. Now, whenever we release the joystick or the keyboard button for moving around, we want to make sure that it goes back to the idle animation whenever we're not actually moving. So let's right click on the run state and make a transition, and we're going to left click on idle, and it will snap to that. Let's select the transition going from run to idle, and then we're going to go to our conditions. Now in this list, we're going to add that same condition, is running, and we're going to set it to false this time. So if we're not running, it's going to go back to the idle. Perfect. That's all that we need in our transitions. Now, there are a couple of other things that we need to remember. This is going to be very, very important because each transition controls how it's going to animate. Now, we have set the condition, but there's this little box right here, this little checkbox that says has exit time. What that means is that each transition is going to wait until the previous animation has finished. So on our idle, if we start running and it's playing through, and let's say that we're running and we decide to let go right here in the run animation, what it's going to do is it's going to continue playing the run animation even though we've let go of the joystick. And then it's going to go to the idle. And then whenever we try to go again, we're going to have this lag. It's going to look like he's idling, but then he's actually going to translate forward, and the animation won't match up. So we need to turn off has exit time on both of those transitions. That's extremely important. Okay, so now that that is set, we have everything working as it should. Let's go ahead and start talking about how to physically get this to translate and how to get these animations working, and we'll have to do that through script, which is what we'll get into next.